We got big things today with the F12, and it's something I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. Even though I've done this on the channel before, I still get comments about it all the time asking for a bike to go liquid cooled. The GP1, the RC1 GP1 motor, the 94cc RC1. This is a water cooled build. There's radiators in here. It's a liquid cooled cylinder, no air shrouds, liquid cooled. We built a liquid cooled stroker. I don't know why I'm pointing over here, it's not over here. I built a liquid cooled stroker on the channel too, 120cc Honda Elite, if you go back and look at that. But the GP1 was stock already liquid cooled. We just did a motor swap on it. We converted a 120cc Honda Dio into a liquid cooled setup using a liquid cooled bore. And boys, today we got some stuff for the F12. So if you aren't familiar too much with the F12s, this is a Phantom F12 by Malagutti, and they have multiple models of this scooter with different engines and different setups and rear disc brake models, drum brake models, etc, etc. This model right here that I have is the early model F12 with an air-cooled Minarelli horizontal with a drum brake. I wish I could have found one with a rear disc, but I could not. These are very, very, very hard to find in America. Currently, as this bike sits, we have a 70 kit in it. It's a Stage6 street single ring aluminum cylinder in here, MK2. And well boys, you guys been asking for it for a while, and it's something I've wanted to do. And we're gonna take this air cooled F12, converting it to liquid cooled, along with a better cylinder, a better setup. Forgot about the pipe. So this is a C16. We might still use this pipe, we might change it, I'm really not sure yet. If you're familiar with the setup that we'll be doing, you can let me down in the comments below maybe some pipe suggestions, but this is what we got on here right now. But everything else is going to be changed, and I really cannot wait to get started on this. Love the tail light on this thing. We got all the little bits in the side case. We got a polini gearbox cover back there with the additional bearing. All the CVT work, every little bit on this scooter. It still looks so clean with the body all stock, but that's enough showing you guys the scooter. Let's get into some of the parts that I've been collecting over here. Alright, this first box we're about to open here was probably one of the most hardest things to actually find for this build I'm doing. So, all the way from the homie in Italy, who I found on the Facebook pages that actually helped me. Shout out to Luca. And, ooh, looking good, boys, it's looking good. Dude, wait, are these brand new? Oh my god, they're brand new. No way, I thought these were used. Wow. Super hooked it up. Dual radiators for the F12. OEM too. I wanted to go with the stock ones just so I can use the exact stock mounting points. It looks like even on the air-cooled model, it has the mounting points still for the radiators. So I'll show you guys more of that once I actually take off the body. But anyways, we got the most needed part that was hardest to find for some reason is these F12 radiators. I wanted to utilize the stock area without having to cut any of my panels to fit a bigger radiator. So I wanted to find these little dual radiators, and for some reason I just couldn't find one the exact diameter and everything as the stock F12 ones were. So luckily I found the Facebook page. I always find a lot of my parts on the Facebook page. A lot of people ask me where to find specific parts. You'd be surprised what you can find on a Facebook group. So on the Malagutti page, reached out, and homie in Italy had these brand new just sitting there. So scooped up some radios for him, and this is just one piece to the puzzle. This is with all the goodies. Way too much coolant line. I don't know what I was thinking when I ordered this. I think I read the description wrong. Alright, before we get completely started on this, tearing this down, I just gotta give a big shout out to Scooter Attack, who is helping sponsor the F12 build here, and they hooked it up a bunch with a lot of these parts here. So they reached out and they were like, yo, we seen the F12, we want to help you get some parts, and I was like, perfect timing. We're going water cooled on this thing. So we got literally everything we really need right here. So shout out Scooter Attack, appreciate y'all. Thank you, and they're overseas. So you overseas boys, I'm sure you already know about them. But here we go, boys. As you can tell, almost everything we got here is Stage 6, except for the good old polini carb. I love these polini CP carbs. These are my go-to on literally every single build almost now. So polini CP, and we went with a 21 mil. I have a 19 mil on there now. I figured once we went a little bit bigger and more high end with this setup, then it'd probably be our best bet just to go a little bit bigger with the carbs. So CP21 should be plenty for this. And here we go, boys. You see it already. You already know what it is. Ooh, look at this. Water cooled life, boys. It's so crazy not seeing the cooling fins. Whoa. With a Bridgeport exhaust too. This is the MK2 water cooled racing cylinder. So we wanted the racing spec. The ports look absolutely amazing in there already. I don't know if you can see that in there. I don't know if you can really see it in here on the camera, but usually these ports are really rough edged and you got to come in here with a Dremel and kind of get them down more. But the ports on here look really good already. Like really good. This is clean. Here too. Smooth. Little tiny lip on that one. Tiny, tiny, tiny. This one's smooth. Overall, this looks good. This looks really good. O-ring head on it. Sheesh, look at that. Little coolant temp sensor right there. Little MPT fitting. This is, I believe, just to bleed the coolant right here. Looks good. I think the F12 brake just sucks. I haven't really messed with it that much, but I'm pretty sure we put new pads on it last time, but I went ahead and just threw these in there because I never tried Stage 6 brake pads. So, Stage 6 brake pads, I've tried Malossi and Polini, and I absolutely hated them, and I went back to OEM. But, always want to try another, so Stage 6 brake pads is this time. I think this is a brushless, too. Yeah, it is. Brushless water pump, boys. Stage 6 brushless water pump. I don't know if it's supposed to make that sound though. But easy enough. Water pump. Alright, she's got the aluminum wrist pin bearing inside. Alright boys, so with the cylinder, if you couldn't tell, I don't know if you can really, this crank is the 12mm crank. So as you can see here, got the 12mm crank, MK2 HPC, I believe it's called. It's called the HPC MK2. I don't know, Stage 6 parts confuse me, but solid crank we got here. So, can't wait to put that in. It's got the roller bearing right there down on the rod. That's pretty sweet. Got the nice aluminum wrist pin bearing up here. One thing I also got was these little blinkers just to get rid of the amber blinker I have on the front of this because I have nothing else sticking out but the amber blinkers on the F12. Seriously though, look how much of this coolant line I bought. I thought it said that quantity of 1 is only a foot. I think it said quantity of 1 is 4 feet. And I bought 5 of it. So this is like literally like 20 feet of coolant line. I don't know what we're gonna do with all that. Easy enough. It is time to strip it down. So, taking everything off, at least, yeah, I'm going to be taking everything off because we're going to mount the radiators too, so we're going to end up having to take this front piece off again, which that was not fun because you have to pull the wheel off. So we might wait on that actually. We're going to focus on, we're just going to start taking it apart. Alright, after debating it for a little while, I decided just to strip the bike apart because I realized it'd be best and easiest just to get the motor done because I probably won't mess with putting the radiators in until I actually have the motor back in the bike and can figure out all the line situations. So we went and stripped everything from the motor, pulling out the carb, and all the wiring and lines that are connected to the motor itself. So So I started stripping down the motor and pulling off the CVT case. I really have only put maybe 20 miles, maybe 30 miles on this build since I actually built it. But I've been dying to go liquid cooled on this, so it was better now than never. We're not gonna need these where we're going. Not gonna need this either. Started taking off all the ignition stuff. Luckily I still had the correct flywheel puller because for some reason this horizontal Minerelli that's in the F12 has a total different thread pitch than any other flywheel puller I have for any other scooters. I think I borrowed this from a friend last time and I ordered one after that and I never used it. Luckily I found that piece, so I was able to get the flywheel off, and then we took the electric start off since we're not going to be using that. I haven't used it since I built this motor, but you can't take it off without pretty much taking the whole motor out. So the way it sits in there with the tire on, you're unable to unbolt the electric start. So did it now before I forget. And then like I said, we worked on pulling everything off the side of the case with the ignition and everything else that was connected. So these brakes that were in there were NCY brakes. That could be a big problem too. I thought I had the Malossi ones. I think it was my pre-bug I ran the Malossi and the Polini ones in and I didn't like. So hopefully the Stage6 helps with that, but we're gonna obviously grease all this up and clean it all pretty good. So we gotta drain the gearbox oil out of here, and then just so when we're flipping over the motor, because I'm gonna flip it on the side, probably to split the cases a couple times. I don't want to drip it out, and then clean it all up. Obviously, we got a lot to clean, but motor is completely stripped down basically now. Crank's in there still, but that's once we split the cases. And then we're gonna be utilizing this crank and this bore setup for the jog build. So now we'll have a air-cooled setup for the jog, because I don't want to go liquid cooled on the jog. There's way too much I'm going to have to do to modifying the plastics and everything like that. So I just don't want to go that route on the jog. The F12 is the perfect model to go liquid cooled on, and I think the F12 deserves it. So it's going to be really sick. We're not going to need these air-cooled pieces anymore in here. I forgot we actually put the overrange kit on here, so when I was taking this off, I was like, what happened here? I was shocked for a second, and then I remembered that we came in here and we dremelled all that out to fit that. So yeah, this thing has the overrange kit. This thing's gonna be an absolute ripper all said and done now. Alright, here is how we're currently sitting with the F12 engines. I got everything for the ignition pulled off on this side, everything off on the CVT side. Now it is time to just split the cases, and we'll have this thing torn all the way down where we can start rebuilding it and making it better than ever. Here's how the F12 is currently sitting, and we got a lot to do with this thing, so we're gonna have to pull off the front wheel in order to get this front panel off. Got all the goods stacked and piled over here, some pieces of the F12 just spread amongst the place, but we got some more stuff to order, and I'm actually missing a few parts that I'm on the hunt for now. So maybe some boys overseas who have F12s around, maybe you can help me out. But I basically need the connector, the three-way plastic piece that goes between the top of the radiators. I need that mostly because that's what actually mounts to the frame. So that's what holds the radiators up. There's no actual mounting points on the radiators. So I could make one, but I prefer if I can just buy one of those if someone has that, and a reservoir. Also, I think there's another tube on the bottom part. Basically everything that connects the radiators, and I would prefer to use the stock reservoir so I can kind of mount it in the same spot, like behind the glove box area. No big deal if not, I'll figure out something for that, but most importantly, I would like that part that connects the radiators so I don't have to worry about figuring out a way to mount it or make it look bad when that piece is, if someone has that piece available. So boys overseas, help me out with that. Hopefully I got some photos up on the screen, might help you reference it, but yeah, F12 is happening quick. So now we're not going to be running this Trail Tech spark plug mounted temp gauge. I'm going to be removing the clock that's usually here with the oil light and the headlight, because this thing doesn't work anyways. The screen on it went bad. I'm going to find a digital water temp gauge that will mount perfectly in this hole. I think it'll look pretty sweet, so we're going to look for something like that. But as it sits right now, I think I'm gonna call it that on the engine for just today, because I'm gonna be saving this crank to put into my Yamaha jog. So I usually will just use the mallet method and bang a crank out and split the cases, mostly because I never reuse the cranks when they're stock cranks. So I heat it up and just tap it out that way, but sometimes they'll mess up the threads, and obviously you could untrue your crank by hitting it like that. So that's something you don't want to do, but I usually never ever reuse stock cranks. So I got a pile of just stock cranks right there. That almost every single one of them probably has bad threads on the end from just hitting them out. Do not suggest doing it that way. I've done it a million times, so I kind of know how to, but I suggest not doing it that way. Ordering the right tool this time, since we're going to be reusing that crank into my Yamaha jog, and I do not want to deal with messing up a crank. So I do not want to split the cases right now until we get that tool. So that's what we're waiting on for that. I don't know if you can see it in the background right now. I brought something out today that I want to get running again, and I think that would be really fun on the channel. So it's been a while, but I pulled out the tandem scooter. And this thing is, if you don't know, go back a few years ago when we used to make videos on this thing, because this thing is sick. But it's basically a GY6 150cc, 2 teardown mopeds welded together, and it's an absolute unit. The front person controls the gas. The front brake doesn't work, so the front person only controls the gas, the back person controls the brake, and the back person has the kill switch. So it's a whole operation to ride. It's super fun, it's super goofy, but I was thinking, now this is just a thought, what if I rebuild the tandem, but utilizing a horizontal Minarelli 2-stroke engine? Because I have one up here, and it's been sitting here for a few years now. This case is, it's missing some stuff for the gearbox, but it's majority there. And what if we build that up and put a 2-stroke 70 kitted Minarelli engine in this thing? That would be pretty sick. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Or maybe just build another tandem or something crazy with that engine instead of utilizing a Tao. Let me know what you think we should do with the tandem, or should I just get it running as is with the 150 and build something crazy with that horizontal Minarelli? I don't know, but I definitely want to get that tandem back on the channel anyways, and I want to film a funny video with that. So expect stuff from the tandem soon. Expect a lot of cool stuff from the F12 soon. But that's going to do it for this one, boys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.